Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 24 career mode. This is part number 29 today for the Canadian Grand Prix in Season 2. But if you guys did miss the previous episode, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. As we went to Monaco with a special one-off tribute livery to the MP44, as the McLaren was once again in white and red, but unfortunately that did not bring us good luck that we were hoping for. Things were going okay, I guess you could say, and then it went really quite badly. Very badly indeed. And to my surprise, and maybe your guys' surprise, Fernando Alonso would pick up a second win of the season. It means myself and Fernando are the only two drivers that have won so far here in Season 2 of this series. And that man was on smoke. I've never seen an AI driver that aggressively defending, attacking. He really wanted it, and it shows why, because he's second place in the championship, 2 points off us, and he really is one of the few drivers really wringing the neck out of their car to try and keep up with us in obviously a phase of the season where we're trying to gain a bit of advantage in the standings whilst we can, whilst the car has that advantage on paper in R&D terms. Obviously we started the season with the quickest car on paper. We're still the quickest car with a few upgrades also to help out, but eventually I feel rivals will start to catch us. I mean, they already have caught us a little bit in Imola. Things were very close actually on the R&D chart. Things got a bit diverged at Monaco, but we didn't make the most of it because it was a very topsy-turvy, chaotic Grand Prix. But as we go on through the specialist, we continue to try and increase the levels as much as we can. But look at this, Miguel with the team morale in his mind. He's donned the McLaren t-shirt. That, you know what, I got annoyed with it in Season 1. I'm all for it now. Where is all your loyalties, okay? We've just had a difficult race weekend, and none of you are backing the team as well as Miguel is, okay? What a guy. What a man. Potentially going into this race weekend, we also have another small upgrade. This will be on the DRS, on the aero side of things that Lando has purchased. And of course it's failed. It has failed as soon as I mention it, so we don't have that upgrade. Just forget anything I said. So we're plateauing from Monaco to Canada. But remember, at Monaco, the upgrade we did bring to that episode was a drag reduction update, again, that Lando purchased. So that, I said at the time, may not be very handy around Monaco, but it could be very handy around here at Montreal with a long back straight. So that drag reduction update will hopefully pay off in race conditions in real terms. You can see in terms of the other teams around this, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari plateauing as well as they maintain that small gap. Of course, you've got to remember the scaling of this graph is very small actually, so the fuel spread is very close. And Aston Martin make things even closer as they bring upgrades off the back of Fernando winning. They're wise to try and build on that momentum by bringing Alonso an upgrade to that Aston Martin car to try and keep up the pressure in the championship. In the bottom, there's a little bit of movement going on for Alpine, but now we go into qualifying for the Canadian Grand Prix.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here in Canada at the wonderful Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Who's going to come out fastest of all in the next hour? Yes, it's time for qualifying.
It is absolutely soaking out there for qualifying here in Montreal. This is going to be a massive spanner in the works then, because forget the drag reduction, we're going to have to make sure we have enough downforce to navigate these conditions. You can see the rear end stepping out as we go out for our first flying lap in Q1, but tiptoeing around this first initial lap, it's all about trying to suss out where the grip is. You know, this is the first time we've come to Montreal with this level of an upgraded McLaren in these conditions. You can just never count on how the car felt in a previous wet session, etc. So having to just try and gain that confidence. We fueled up the car enough for 2 consecutive flying laps, but we're going to have to do a little bit of ERS management in the middle of that. Like they do in real life, we actually have to go around a whole lap and just charge up the battery, and then we go again. So it's our 3rd lap in total, but our actual only 2nd proper lap in anger, and now we're finding the lap time. We're finding that confidence to get on the power a little bit earlier, or maybe get on the brakes a little bit later. As we go to the line, it's going to be 2.37 seconds gained, and we are going from wherever we were to P1. Doesn't really matter where we were because we topped the session 3/10 ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Lando struggling a little bit, P11, but not as much as Fernando Alonso was struggling. Oh my word, with an upgraded Aston Martin, you would think off the back with momentum and focus from winning the Monaco Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso has had an absolute howler. He is knocked out. He's stone dead last in Q1. What went on there? Either that was a huge error on his part, or operationally, Aston Martin have made an error. They haven't sent him out for enough laps or what. But Fernando's out. He's going to be at the back of the grid for the Canadian Grand Prix. Unbelievable. Just when you think it's going one way, this season takes another little twist here. Before the race weekend even really begins, we've not even got to the business end of the Saturday in Q3, and then the race is to come. But right now, conditions still quite tricky out there as we have a bit of soaring away at the steering wheel through the hairpin you saw across the line, and it's only P7, narrowly ahead of the 2 Haas cars, so definitely some time to find as we go purple in the first sector, but really we're finding more time in the second sector here, riding the curbs a little bit more confidently on that second run. Gains us about half a second, a further half a second now into the final 2 corners. We're P10, so this is a crucial lap. We had to get this lap in, and we go across the line to lift ourselves from P10 on the edge of being knocked out in Q2, and we go top. After all of that worrying for a moment there, we are top, but things are supremely close. 0.005 to Max Verstappen. That is unreal, but at one point we could have been knocked out in Q2, just showing that in the wet conditions you really have to keep your wits about it. Maybe you have to go again, because things can change very rapidly. Conditions can change on the track, people can find more time. Maybe there's one little patch in one sector that is just a little bit drier than it was on the previous runs, and that's where you could get caught out. As we're ending our first flying lap in the top 10 shootout, navigating just past the wall of champions, all fine, and running to the line on the right hand side, the shortest run, and that gets us quickest of all at the moment. Provisional pole position, but like I said, things can change in these conditions, and they normally will, because now you can see the sun is out and it's looking a lot drier. The spray isn't being kicked up nearly as much on the tyres, and Lando has nicked provisional pole position. He's gone quicker. There's a slight dry line forming, and the track is getting quicker and quicker. Russell now on provisional pole. We're down to P5, and we're really not making much of an improvement, it feels like, as we almost lose all our progress into the final chicane. We were 2/10 up, and by the end of it we're only 1/10 up, just over 1/10, and that will simply get us from P5 to P4. So things really did change in an instant, and maybe the more experienced drivers on hand to make the most of it. Leclerc on pole position for the Canadian Grand Prix. Of course, it could have been a very different story at Monaco, remember. It could have easily been Leclerc dominating the Monaco Grand Prix, winning his home race here in Season 2, because he was dominating until his car gave up and had a mechanical failure. So he's clearly still got some genuine pace from a very different circuit of Monaco to here Montreal. Ferrari on top. Verstappen's up there though. Russell showing some class in the Mercedes, and we have to settle for P4. I feel like there could have been more in there, but in these kind of conditions you can't complain too much. You just have to accept what happens in the moment. Things are so interchangeable compared to the dry conditions, so let's just go out there in the race. I think it's going to be starting dry, but rain may also feature on Sunday, so let's take it as it comes. Let's go to the grid.
Montreal is not only the second largest French-speaking city in the world, but it's home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. The name Villeneuve looms large over this one, but who can write their own legends today? With top speeds of around 210 miles per hour heading into the overtaking opportunity of turn 13, the 2.7 miles of the circuit Gilles Villeneuve are some of the quickest on the Formula One calendar. There are 14 corners in total, with 60% of the lap taken at full throttle, and average speeds clock in at about 130 miles per hour. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, a McLaren, Norris, Sainz, Stroll, Perez, Hamilton, Hülkenberg, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Tsunoda, Ocon, Gasly, Bottas, Ricciardo, Joe, Sargent, and Fernando Alonso rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And joining me in the commentary box this afternoon, the First Lady of World Motorsports, Naomi Schiff. Now, sadly, things didn't work out for them last time. It was a bad race. Question is, though, can they recover today?
It is true they had a really tough day in the office last time out, but they cannot dwell on that. It's so important to turn the page and start on a blank slate, because the more you dwell on that, the less it's going to push you in the right direction. So take some notes. Obviously, there's things to be learned, but move on.
Overcast conditions then here in Montreal for the start of this race as we get going for the formation lap, and rain is on the way later on this race. And you may notice myself and Lando have both been put on the hard tyres. I've decided to stick with that hard compound choice that we've been given by McLaren, because if you take a look at the bottom left there, you can see there is definitely a good chance that we can just go from these hards onto intermediates, and the hope is that the rain is going to come late enough that the mediums won't go the distance. I was hoping that, but then I asked my engineer in the middle of the formation lap about the weather, and the way he was wording it made me think, okay, maybe the rain is actually going to be with us a bit sooner rather than later. So I don't know actually now in hindsight if the hard tyre is really going to make much of a difference in terms of it would have done if we get to a point where everyone's pitting and myself and Lando aren't, and we can go straight to inters. But now I'm thinking, I think we're all going to be going on to inters, because it sounds like the rain is only a mere, like 10 laps away, by the way Mark was saying it on the formation lap there. Either way, McLaren as a team, we've committed to the hard compound. This will just give us open options depending on when the rain comes. Either tyre wear is going to play a factor or it won't before we switch over as we go to 5 red lights. And it's the Canadian Grand Prix underway. Verstappen with a great getaway. We've had an awful start on the hard compound, not got the grip, and Lance Stroll is attacking us with venom into the first corner. Lando's completely overtaken us and done us anyway before we even got to the brake zone. He's up into P4, and Verstappen has overtaken the Ferrari to get the Red Bull into first place. So we remain in 5th, but already immediately I'm starting to feel like, okay, maybe the hard tyres were overdoing it in terms of trying to be a bit too clever with the race strategy. I check about vehicle condition just to check any damage, because Stroll did hit us, so just as a precaution, just checking that. But I don't think Mark's picking up on anything. The heads-up display not picking up on anything, and Stroll continues to attack us. Look at the Canadian going down the inside, obviously one of the home drivers here, so maybe just, you know, feeling the crowd a little bit and really wanting to give it a good go. And to be fair to him, he's overtaken us. He's up to P5. He just dived down the inside. I couldn't actually do anything to squeeze him out, so he's legitimately got us here. We have to overtake the Canadian. We will get that done in the final chicane and then push away. But it's Verstappen, yeah, that leads the way then in the Red Bull. Great start for him on the front row, and he swapped positions with Leclerc. Russell in behind in 3rd place. Lando P4. We are in P5 still, and we will continue to try now chase after the pack ahead of us, which is tail-ended by Lando Norris, and the front fight is brewing now. On to lap 4. Leclerc looking to get back P1. He lost it immediately off pole position, but the Ferrari now on the outside with maybe the better racing line eventually as we get through into the next section, and Leclerc does get up into 1st place. The Ferrari leads here in Canada once again, and meanwhile well, both Ferraris making moves and trying to make moves as Sainz's overtake on Stroll is unsuccessful, and he actually has to settle for P7 still, as the Haskars doing well again, creeping up on the bottom of the top 10. Meanwhile, though, Fernando Alonso, let's remember him, the man who won the last race in Monaco. He's in P18, so he's made up 2 positions at least from the back of the grid after being knocked out quite amazingly in Q1. So we'll keep an eye out on Alonso being the nearest man to me in the championship, of course. So, you know, important to keep an eye. You know, even though it's early days in the championship, you know, you get the sense that Fernando really is trying his best to stick with us in the standings. So always good to just keep an eye, even though we're still taking it race by race. And at the moment, well, it is starting to rain. Look at the halo, look at the chassis, as my engineer's happy with the tyres at the moment, but the streaks of rain are now starting to collect on the camera. So this isn't great for us, because this just means the rain is definitely coming early enough where we're all going to switch onto the inters. So this strategy of starting on the hards for the entire McLaren team, myself and Lando, really hasn't paid off. We should have just started on mediums, because all we've done is lost out on tyre performance at the start of this race. My engineer's trying to keep us motivated in this phase of the race by telling us to go and overtake Lando, but that's it. We're only in a fight with our teammate at the moment, and you can see the grip levels are starting to go away as the track gets slipperier by the minute as the rain continues to fall. And Fernando Alonso, well, he's relishing these kind of conditions as he's making moves. He's really the only man making much of a move right now in this Grand Prix, as the Spaniard will get up into P17. Good overtake on Daniel Ricciardo, but still so far to go for Fernando. But you know, obviously with the rain, that could be an opportunity for him. It can be an opportunity for any of us to maybe make a bit of an indent into this race, because right now I feel like we're all just trying to survive and tiptoe around and make sure none of us make a mistake. You can see things are bunching up ahead of us as the Ferrari is slowing and backing everyone up into us, as all 5 of us now are in a bit of a train almost. But you can see I'm really struggling now with grip, as it's getting far too damp for me at least. The AI around us, well, they're pin perfect, so they're still not really being bothered too much, but I am considering pitting earlier and maybe trying to get an undercut going, because I am making errors now in these conditions. Meanwhile, Fernando Alonso continues to make progress as he overtakes Bottas now up into P16. It's still Leclerc that leads the way from Verstappen, Russell, Lando Norris close by. You can see I'm losing time now to the leaders. We're now well over a second back from Lando Norris, nearly 2 seconds. I'm going to come in. I'm changing my tyre to intermediates there on the right-hand side, because at the end of this lap, I will be coming in as there's a spin for Logan Sargent in the last sector. We have just said to box this lap, but unbeknownst to me, the safety car was about to come out. How about this? Lando's in as well, as we have to really slow it down as I almost break the delta time. I was a bit scared. I didn't know how that was going to work going into the pit lane, if the delta would have just been reset because I'm going into the pits, but I daren't risk it, so I just parked it at the pit lane entry line to make sure the timer didn't go over so we don't get a penalty. But we've double stacked it with Lando, because he has come in, we have come in onto intermediate, and crucially, the others, Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell, a load of people, they've all stayed out on the dry tyres, and so this is turned into an absolute blinder of a strategy call from the entire McLaren team. We maybe made a mistake going on hards at the start of the race, but now both of us have come in straight away to get that free pit stop, and it's too wet out there for the dries as Ocon brake checks us into the final chicane. I would have understood maybe if he was coming into the pits and he was braking for the pits, but what was that? I think honestly that was him not having the grip on the dry tyres, but I was quite annoyed with Ocon because that could have been easily a bit of front wing damage there, so we get alongside him just to show our frustrations. But look at the top left, we've already jumped Leclerc, we've jumped Verstappen, so I think by the time, you know, Ocon and these other people come in to the pits, we're going to be in a 1-2 for McLaren as we go on to the green flag racing. And that's exactly what's going to happen on the end of lap 13, on to 14. Ocon, Hamilton, and Sainz are in, and it's Lando Norris that takes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. We're in second, though. It is a 1-2 for McLaren. We are ahead of Leclerc, who previously led this Grand Prix. Verstappen P4, he used to be P2, and then Stroll obviously was behind us, but he's now actually gained in all of this. Because he's jumped Russell. So Russell's lost out then in the pit. So Stroll has actually had a really great pit stop phase. P5 then for the home favourite. That's a really good stuff for him as the safety car is coming in. And to my confusion, Leclerc seems to be acting like he is the lead of the safety car train because he's backing everyone else up. We're going. Lando's bolted. We're being careful about how we are through the first final corners because of the lack of grip. But look at the gap to Leclerc. And then more importantly, Lando is harvesting across the line. We deploy battery. We squeeze to the inside. And we get up into first place. We've wasted no time at all. But just like in Monaco, we have the urgency about us. The driver ahead of us doesn't. It was Fernando in Monaco. It's Lando here in Montreal, who just gets caught napping and far too focused on harvesting battery at the wrong time, and we get up into first place. But Leclerc held up the rest of the grid, so they were no bother to us. But look at this then, in the pit stops, Alonso's up to P11. All of a sudden, Fernando could be back in the pits and it's game on to limit the damage properly to myself and others in the championship. So Alonso, this might be the start of him getting some good points. Meanwhile, back in our POV, Lando on board. He's going for the inside. We try to squeeze him, but he's so committed to keeping it on the inside to my surprise. And he's using plenty of battery now on the exit to get back up into first place. We're looking to tuck underneath his rear wing. Look at Leclerc go though as well. It's 3 wide and I'm so scared about turning in. We just eventually have the confidence to get into first place, but I really didn't know where Lando and Leclerc were, as now Lando continues to attack us and we try again to squeeze him out the corner, but he's so committed. He wants the first place back. I'm sure he's very annoyed at the restart, and he's got the better traction in the racing line as well, and he is up into first place once again. It's still crucially a 1-2 for McLaren, so that's great, but Lando gets P1 back. But this is, well, at least in Season 2, the real first time myself and Lando, as obviously the reigning champion now in this season, have gone toe-to-toe, wheel-to-wheel, really, in, you know, this great McLaren that we've got. Because so far, you know, when you really deep it, we actually haven't been near each other too many times in the races so far in Season 2. So this is the first real competition amongst ourselves into team, and you know, the likes of Leclerc waiting in the wings in case one of us makes an error fighting each other. And we need to be careful about those errors because the rain is consistently coming down and I almost feel like it's getting to full wet, maybe, if there's enough standing water, as Ricciardo is now out the session, and that is going to call out the virtual safety car, as we were just about maybe trying a little look around the outside, but in the end we're going to have to just be a bit patient here. But yeah, the rain is falling quite consistently, so I'm just checking you know, around on heads-up display, just having a bit of a sit rep on how the tyres are facing. Going to bring down the differential just a bit to help us on the traction on the rear end, but the tyre wear is slightly higher on the rear tyres, and that's because you're trying to get that traction in these kind of conditions. But right now, very nicely, my engineer, you know, almost is reading my thoughts because he tells me we're on the right tyre. I confirm that again on the radios. What the whoa? What's happening? What was that? Our teammates just brake checked us under the virtual safety car, and he's now pushed us back by 3.6 seconds. I'd obviously like to say that was the benefit of the doubt. It was just an honest mistake from Lando, but look at this. The virtual safety car is now ending, so very conveniently we've gone to green, and now all of a sudden we're outside of 1 second. We're a lot closer to Leclerc now. Front wing is still intact, but That was a little bit cheeky, and that felt a bit on purpose there. Lando giving us the brake check in the middle of the virtual safety car and pushes us away towards the Ferrari.
Okay, some information on Norris. They seem to have an issue.
Oh, okay. You know what? Now I don't care. Now I don't mind. You know what? That sounds like a bit like karma to me, ladies and gents. That sounds like a lot of karma to me, as Lando now has an issue in the car. He's going to be slow, but we need to take this nice and easy, because hopefully you can see, because I certainly am feeling it in the car at this point, it is getting wetter. It is starting to really rain, and if it continues like this, we are not too far away from full wet. I was constantly checking, and look at this. Mark says that the conditions are shifting, but right now we have got 20 minutes, and he says of heavy rain. So even though we're on inters, technically Mark is describing the weather as heavy rain, not light rain. So usually that would be cause to go onto the full wet tyres, but I've found on F1 24 so far, the inters, kind of like real life in a way, they do have a very large operating window, and maybe like in real life, the full wet tyres are quite useless in the game as they are in real life Formula 1. So we're all sticking on inters, even though Mark is describing the weather as heavy rain, but we are just slowly reeling in Lando with that car issue, of course. And now it seems like a good chance to maybe overtake him. We send it to the inside. He almost makes contact with us, trying to shut the door, but then we're going to pull off the outside move in a similar way that he did to us before the virtual safety car and get the overtake. Of course, he is slow. We're trying to give him room still and be a respectful teammate, but we are going to get that overtake and get up into first place.
That's Lando behind. They're faster than you, mate. They're faster than you, so let them through, please.
What?
They're faster than you. They're faster than you.
Oh my God. I cannot believe what I'm seeing in front of my eyes and hearing with my ears. I've just been given a team order to let Lando by. I've just overtaken him. Mark, you've just told me he has an issue with the car, so he's going to be slow. I've overtaken him, and now you're telling me to let him by, and he's somehow faster than me. The infamous, he is faster than you, do you copy? And you know what? No, I don't copy McLaren. I don't copy Mark. What are you on about? There is no way we are letting him back past. Absolutely not. We've overtaken him fair and square. He's got a car issue. What use will it be letting him by? I cannot believe they've given me a team order. Oh my God, no. No, no, no. You have got to be joking me. Oh, no. What? Oh my God, we're out. I cannot believe the timing of that. Oh my God. That was absolute cinema. What? How have we overtaken our teammate, been given a team order to let him by, we're disobeying it, and then we get an engine failure and let him by?
The checkered flag is out. We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again because it's victory for Max Verstappen.
What a great way to turn the situation around. And you know what they say, it's not about how you fall off the horse, it's about how you get back on it. And today, they've done a great job of turning the page and rectifying their wrongs.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Max Verstappen wins, Leclerc second, Lando recovers to third, because I'm sure that car issue was only a temporary one for him. Unfortunately for me, my issue was permanent and instantaneous. I'm not going to lie, guys. Look, I'm not one for conspiracies usually, all right? I like to think I'm a very level-headed person, but that was suspiciously, you know, I disobey the team order, and almost immediately my engine's off. I'm being a bit silly, but it's still incredible timing. That is, like I said, absolute cinema. I cannot believe it, though. For the very first time on the F1 game, we have been given a team order, and we got told our teammate was faster than us, when he definitely wasn't as well, by the way. No, like, forget the engine failure, sure, that is an absolute travesty, and it means that Fernando Alonso now leads the Drivers' Championship again since the first race of the season, but I'm not forgetting this, McLaren. I am not forgetting this. You gave a team order to me when I was clearly quicker and the car behind had a car issue. That is sticking in my mind. Guys, if you have enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. This episode is going to stick in my mind for a while, though, you know. It is.